Hello and welcome back. Our last video, titled BRICS Currency Officially Announced, Is It Gold-Backed?, kind of blew up on us. There were a lot of follow-up questions we weren't expecting, and we want to try to clarify some things. We went straight back to the source and have a lot more detail in this video to share with you. Stay tuned. In addition to laying out the new things we've learned over the course of this past year, we'll also provide a source of the original interview in the description that generated a lot of the information we're using and that other US organizations have used as well. There are several countries involved in BRICS and creating a new global financial system, and not all of them are on the same page. Russia has been very gung-ho about pursuing a new currency. They said in 2023 that BRICS was going to make a new currency, and then several other member countries denied it. And for the most part, that has been the reality. A lot of denial, a lot of statements saying it was never discussed, a lot of hedging. It's my best guess that a country that wants to maintain friendly relations with the US doesn't necessarily want to make it obvious that they're doing something to harm the economic power of the United States. So they probably want to downplay things until they're ready to go, and it can't be easily stopped. So for a long time we've had a lot of denials about this currency, and then there was an interview with Sergei Glazyev that made it clear that a BRICS currency was not only under development but nearly complete and awaiting approvals. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. In this interview he talked about both the payment system and the currency. Now this is the first instance we have seen that indicates work is being done on a BRICS currency, and all that's left are formalities. In almost every public statement on this topic, representatives have preferred to talk about developing the contingent reserve arrangement and using their native currencies instead of the dollar. Or it's been talked about in theoretical terms of the benefits, or existed as a proposal, but there was no indication that it was being worked on. Okay, let's talk about the differences between a payment system and a currency, because this has come up. Now, some of our sources that we were using in our last video were quoting things out of context and mixing these two up. Those of you who are researching this may have come across this yourselves. So think of a financial payment system as being similar to roads and a currency being similar to cars. If you control either car production or the infrastructure, you have a lot of control. Now, currently the world uses SWIFT for transactions between banks, corporations, or other entities involved in the global financial system. And currently, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. There are two big changes that need to be discussed. First, the BRICS payment system intending to replace SWIFT will be on blockchain. And based on comments made, it sounds like they intend for this to be usable by, quote, common people, end quote. Common people are not currently accessing SWIFT, so this would be a change. Now, some sources have said the currency that BRICS is developing will be on the blockchain too, and that we can't quite confirm from the transcripts we referred back to. And again, you can review these transcripts yourself in the link we've provided in the YouTube description. The payment system is separate from the currency, and just because the payment system is blockchain based doesn't mean the currency necessarily will be as well. You can use tokens, for example, to represent ownership of real-world assets, and technically a token is still blockchain technology. So you can see the leap that people are making in saying that if the payment system is blockchain-based, the currency will be too. We think there's a little nuance there and want to acknowledge that may not have come across in our prior video. In our last video, we also said that we don't know whether the currency they're talking about will be gold-backed or not. The phrasing they're using makes it appear that gold might be a component, but to what extent we don't actually know. Here's a snippet from that interview that might help. The interviewer asked, what are the challenges, and what steps do you think need to be taken to speed up the process of introducing a new international currency? Sergei's response was, we need only political will, because technically this currency is almost ready. The software and mathematical tools have been created. In order to launch this currency, we need the political consent of the BRICS countries. He then goes on to say it's being considered by China and India, and everyone else already agreed or expressed consent to proceed. What's most interesting in the mechanics of how this will all work is that the payment system is intended to be used aggressively and with everyone's national currencies. The BRICS currency, however, would be intended to be used for international settlements to cut down on high costs associated with exchanging currencies. When you have a large number of currencies and their values are fluctuating constantly, there's a lot of loss involved due to arbitrage, so the BRICS currency would be intended to address that issue, making it cheaper to use than the dollar. In this interview, whether or not currency will be gold-backed is not extremely clear. It is implied. Let me share the exact phrasing Sergei used when describing what this currency will be based on. He said, the first basket is simply formed on the basis of the pool of currency reserves of the BRICS countries, on the basis of which the new currency is issued. The second basket is a basket of exchange-traded commodities, in order for this currency to be backed not only by the national currencies of the member countries, but also by something more serious and material. He goes on to say the member countries have more than enough resources to back up this new currency. The BRICS countries are buying gold at an astounding rate, especially China. It is highly likely that gold becomes a component of this currency if approved and launched, but we don't know the ratio or mix will look like between fiat and commodity in these two baskets. If gold is being used primarily as a marketing play to build trust in this currency, we don't think that will stand the test of time. The big difference between what we know now and what we knew a year ago is that it's clear a BRICS currency is being worked on, and we know some of the mechanics behind how it might be implemented and used. Whether or not it's launched is another question. It's like Tesla announcing a new truck, but one that doesn't hit the market for years and isn't quite finished in the design stages yet. It's astonishingly difficult to get good information on this topic because it's not reported on widely and it's highly technical and secretive. Most Western media has avoided covering the topic, even with some of the US's top officials like our Treasury Secretary or members of Congress addressing it as a major concern on public platforms. We're not sure why it's not being covered the way it deserves to be, but we're going to keep looking for the nuggets of information out there and sharing what we find with you. And we're going to keep following this story because we are in the gold and silver business. Right now, gold is denominated in dollars and there's a USD to gold correlation. That correlation could break if the global financial system is disrupted and the dollar replaced. If BRICS countries are successful in de-dollarizing by setting up their own payment systems and ditching the dollar, it dramatically impacts the US's ability to raise debt, and that's going to have an impact on gold in the country as well. And if a new currency is launched that's backed by a basket of commodities that may include gold and silver, well, we think that's going to have an impact too. So far in 2024, gold has been on a tear, reaching $2,400 per troy ounce, a new all-time high, and at the time of production for this video, it's sitting around $2,350 per troy ounce. Analysts are calling for gold to continue its bull run, and some have attributed its current sprint to China's central bank buying in large quantities, saying, the West has lost control. So why is China's central bank buying so much gold? Maybe there's a new currency they need to fund. There's a lot to think about here, but we'll leave you with a quote I love from Benjamin Franklin that best sums up why we're paying close attention to de-dollarization and sharing that with you. By failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. That's all we have for you today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.